Hi friends, welcome to Love Medics. Daily we are doing many activities like walking, running, eating, writing, so many activities. Who is responsible for these activities? That is basal ganglia. Basal ganglia is the subcortical structure. Basal means base. Ganglia means group of nucleus. In the base of the cerebrum, group of nucleus are located. That is basal ganglia. Many cell bodies are present in the basal ganglia. So, it carries the information from the basal ganglia to other parts of the brain. So, the grey matter of the basal ganglia is due to the cell body. The location of the basal ganglia. The basal ganglia is located lateral to the thalamus. This one is the thalamus. And the basal ganglia located below lateral ventricle. These are the lateral ventricle. The basal ganglia located below the lateral ventricle. It is the cortex to cortex circuit, which means the information from the cerebral cortex is sent to the basal ganglia and the information is again passes to the cerebral cortex, that is cortex to cortex circuit. It has many nucleus. Now we are going to see the nucleus of the basal ganglia. These are the nucleus of the basal ganglia. One is caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, subthalamic nucleus and substantia nigra. These are the nucleus in the basal ganglia. Globus pallidus has external and internal segment, substantia pars compacta and pars reticulata. This is the cut section of brain like this, and this is the lateral view. We see the brain in this view. You imagine like this. This is the head of the organism, and this one is the body of the organism, and this one is the tail of the organism. This is the putamen. Globus pallidus also there. This is the caudate nucleus, and this one is the thalamus. One nucleus is present below the thalamus. That is called subthalamic nucleus. And another one is present, that is the substantia nigra. Striatum means the caudate nucleus and the putamen. These two nucleus are collectively called striatum, and the globus pallidus and putamen, these are called lenticular nucleus. This is the caudate nucleus, this one is the putamen, that is striatum, and this one is the putamen, and this one is the globus pallidus. These are called lenticular body. In anterior view, this one is the caudate nucleus, this one is the putamen, this one is the external globus pallidus, internal globus pallidus, and this one is the thalamus. So, the nucleus below the thalamus is subthalamic nucleus, and other one is substantia nigra. Important neurotransmitter in basal ganglia. They are dopamine, GABA, GABA means gamma aminobutyric acid, acetylcholine and Norepinephrine and Glutamate. These are the important neurotransmitter in the basal ganglia. Till now we have seen the introduction, nucleus of basal ganglia, neurotransmitter. Afferent connection. Afferent connection means the connection between the cortex and the striatum. That is called Corticostriatal projection. Cortico means cortex, striatal means striatum. All parts of the cerebral cortex is connected to the striatum. The connection within the basal ganglia. In this, we are going to see the direct pathway and indirect pathway. These two pathways are important for the movement of the body. Direct pathway. First, the thalamus sends the information to the cortex. we should move the hand, we should move the hand. Then the information passes from the cortex to striatum, and the striatum sends the signal to the internal globus pallidus, and that signal sent to the thalamus. Okay. First, the thalamus sends the signal to the cortex, and that signal sends the excitatory projection to the striatum by glutamate neurotransmitter. Now, the striatum stimulated. The striatum sends the inhibitory signal to the internal globus pallidus and pars reticulata while the striatum gets stimulated. So, the internal globus pallidus and the pars reticulata, these both nucleus are inhibited by striatum. So, the signal from the internal globus pallidus and the pars reticulata is reduced to the thalamus. So, normally the thalamus sends the signal to the cortex to move the hand. That's why we are moving our body parts. Now, indirect pathway. First, the thalamus sends the signal to the cortex, and the cortex sends to the striatum, and the striatum sends the signal to the globus pallidus, externa, subthalamic nucleus, and then internal globus pallidus and pars reticulata, and that signal sent to the thalamus. Then it's sent to the cortex. The thalamus sends the signal to the cortex. Now, you imagine like this, we should move the hand. First, the thalamus sends the signal to the cortex. When the cortex gets stimulated, it sends the signal to the striatum. If the striatum gets stimulated, it sends the inhibitory projection to the globus pallidus externa by GABA. So, globus pallidus externa sends the minimal amount of stimulation to the subthalamic nucleus. So, the subthalamic nucleus is stimulated by cortex. Now, the subthalamic nucleus sends the excitatory projection to the internal globus pallidus and pars reticulata. Now, the internal globus pallidus and pars reticulata send the inhibitory projection to the thalamus. If the inhibitory projection is stimulated, it causes inhibitory effect to the thalamus. Now, the thalamus unable to send the signal to the cortex. If we are doing some activities, the wanted muscles are regulated by direct pathway, the unwanted muscles are stopped by indirect pathway. Pars compacta that send the inhibitory effect to the striatum by dopamine. If the striatum is stimulated, it sends the more inhibitory effect. If the striatum is inhibited, then what happened? The inhibitory effects are stopped by the pars compacta. Indirect pathway is also called as inhibitory pathway, and the direct pathway is also called as excitatory pathway. The Parkinson disease patient damage in the inhibitory effect from the pars compacta to the striatum. So, they don't have the inhibitory effect. Efferent connection means the connection from the basal ganglia to the cortex. We already see that the thalamus sends the projection to the prefrontal and the premotor cortex. Function of the basal ganglia. Associatory motor system means it unable to function alone, but it work associated with cerebral cortex and corticospinal system. Planning and programming of voluntary motor activity. The basal ganglia is essential for the initiation, control and cessation of the muscular activity. control the automatic associated activities. For example, swinging our arm while walking. And it inhibits the muscular tone by balance between excitatory and inhibitory path. And decision making also the function of the basal ganglia. It maintains the normal posture of the body and emotional expression of the body. Applied physiology. In applied physiology, we are going to see the Parkinson disease, hemibalismus, chorea, and athetosis. Parkinson disease. Parkinson disease is due to the lesion of the basal ganglia. In basal ganglia, the dopaminergic pathway is damaged. So the patient has resting tremor. Hemibalismus is due to the lesion in the subthalamic nucleus. It is the violent movement of the arms and legs on one side of the body only. Chorea. Chorea is due to the lesion in the caudate nucleus. They present as jerky movement of the hands and face. Huntington chorea is the one of the type of chorea. Athetosis, it is due to the lesion of the putamen and the spontaneous writing movement of the hands, fingers and toes are present. Basal ganglia overview. It is the subthalamic structure and it located lateral to the thalamus and it has number of nucleus. They are caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, external segment and internal segment, subthalamic nucleus, substantia nigra, pars compacta, pars reticulata. The connection from the cortex to the basal ganglia is afferent pathway, direct pathway and indirect pathway are the connection within the basal ganglia. Again, the basal ganglia is connected to the cerebral cortex, that is efferent pathway. Applied physiology, Parkinson disease, hemibalismus, chorea and athetosis due to the damage of basal ganglia. Question time. Grey matter of the basal ganglia is due to cell body or dendrites. Cell body. Pathway is also known as excitatory pathway or inhibitory pathway. Inhibitory pathway. GABA is the excitatory or inhibitory. Inhibitory. Dopaminergic pathway is damaged in which condition? Parkinson disease or athetosis? In Parkinson disease. Thanks for watching.